Let's call this meeting to order, 7:02. Good to see everyone. Now, some of you may be here because of the presentation about the country club. Unfortunately, it's been postponed or canceled for this evening because one of the presenters was ill. So we won't be having that. If there's any public comment, though, we can certainly take public comment. If there are any questions or concerns at this point, we can take that. As everyone perhaps will depart at this point. I don't know. Bob. So, and if for those who want to make public comment, state your name and address, please.
I almost shouldn't have to say who I am
No,
to this group.
we know you, Bob Hill.
Okay, but I will. Okay, Bob Hill, 68 Acorn Hill Road. So former vice chair of this commission for just about 12 years. So a couple things, and so I'm not sure if you're going to be making the presentation again, so I thought that some of the comments that I have to make here I would share. But before I start, I want to welcome Mary and Bill. You know, Mary, I suggested that you be on the commission quite some time ago, so I'm glad that you're here. Welcome the rest of you back. So just as you move forward, I think as those that serve on the, and Mike, welcome back again. Those of you that are back and are committed to this commission, the work that you do, I know how the commission operates from having been on the commission and the work that responsible for. I want to congratulate Mary. So far, you were living up to my tenure for the last 29 months I served, which was 100% attendance at the meetings, okay? And I hope that you stick with that too. Mike, you look like you're on the same track now too. 100% two for two. Bill, you're 50%, okay, so you got in there, okay? No problem, okay. Jane's at 13 for 30, 43%. Andrew, you're at 76%, which is pretty damn good. Dwight, you used to be at 76.2 at 25 at 29. Stan was at, considering that during Stan's last year, he struggled to come to the meetings, he still made 16 to 29 or 55%. Pinnell, who did 4 months, and then he bowed off, which is 25%. Smith, you're right in there at the 72% at 18 to 25%. And Chester is pulling up the ranks at 6 for 30 or at 20%. So you might want to look at that situation. So one of the things I'm pretty pleased about is depending on what happens with this proposal, I am pleased to see that if it does happen, that a pool will be in the plan. I'm a little confused who's taking P&L responsibility for the pool. It's a little confusing when I've listened to Brian a few times. He's building it, but is he actually going to be operating it and that type of thing? So there's some confusion around that, who's taking responsibility. Despite, as you know, my efforts working with the rest of the commission, we kept that pool open for a number of years, despite the marketing efforts, or the negative marketing efforts of Matt Giglietti, who eventually did kill the pool, okay? So that's unfortunate, but I will be pleased if it does happen, that there will be a town pool. So I will feel as though my efforts, I guess I died on the sword for that. So is where that will go. All right, the other thing I brought here tonight, which I'll pass around to you, I'll try to keep my comments very short. I printed off pages 94 through 97 in the town's conservation plan for conservation and development from 2015. Mike, you may recall, you and I worked very closely initially and then presented it to the board, the input that went into this plan from this particular commission. I have 2 copies here I'll pass around. That's really all I was going to take advantage of copying at work. Okay. And in that plan, it talks about the things that the commission currently, the department currently does tirelessly through the efforts of John Adamovich, Dave Cohen, Jim Franco, and Chris Verbano, along with a number of others, tireless efforts, and thank them for that. So if you look, we actually identified in the plan the future needs for the town. And so there was a gym identified, there was an indoor space needed for music in the school or wherever it happens to be, additional fields for lacrosse, soccer, ultimate frisbee, rugby, an additional 60-foot diamond for the softball, a 90-foot diamond, which is still in the works, I guess. I'll have to check with Dwight on that. Outdoor volleyball, but it looks like we may have it or not, depending on what happens with the country club. Basketball, shuffleboard, I know the courts were ordered, I don't know if they've been installed yet. Dedicated football practice field there, and frisbee, golf course, an ice skating rink, which obviously is being moved, and a dog park. So actually, a couple items crossed off the list, but what was concerning to me was, I guess it was a subcommittee, I guess it's a draft kind of thing, and you know, we created a conservation and development plan. It's really supposed to be a plan for the town, really to use as a guide for the plan. And so the other 95 acres of the country club was discussed. And I guess, you know, in, I guess, selling the development plan to the town, I guess, was to try to sell the residents on the goodies that'll be on the other 95 acres. Well, probably should have referred to the town plan, the recreational needs here, because when I look at the country club, the 14 items that were submitted by a subcommittee of town employees, okay, some of which are not even residents of the town. We had sledding, which has happened at the country club in the past, so we know that. Ice skating, but I think we got a place where the ice skating is going already, which is over on Alleghe, thank goodness, and for John's efforts and everyone else. Walking trails, jogging, we do have that already, but it would be duplication. Biking, snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, picnic area, fishing, 6-hole fizzery golf. Well, at least we got 6 holes. Bird watching, scenic view for the Veterans Memorial Area, which is a nice thing, but I just never saw it anywhere else in any other part of the town plan. A parking area, pavilion, and picnic tables, and the Boy Scout tree sale. And I see the Boy Scout tree sale will go across the street from Martha Gurman's house there at where the turn with that building is. I could see some real concerns in the Boy Scout standpoint, because one of the things that they benefit when it's done over here is the security of knowing it's in the center of town and it's right next to the police station, so there's less issue with theft of trees and things of that sort. So I just think that this and this should come together, because it almost seems like the items that we spent a lot of time putting into this town plan were not even considered here. Some nice ideas, but not necessarily consistent with what we had spent a lot of time and effort on. So, thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay.
Thank you.
And thank you. A letter, we were going to
Yes,
send
a letter did go out.
Good.
Thank you.
You so much
And
for
I
your years of
appreciate-
service.
And I do appreciate, Andrea, we had a chance to have coffee, and I
Yeah.
appreciate your,
Yeah.
you know, consideration and thoughts in that way. And I really enjoyed working with each and every one of you. And so I'm also glad kind of that as much as I was begged to do it again, and then I was told, nah, actually, some didn't want me to continue doing it for whatever reasons that there happened to be, unfortunately. But I do appreciate the fact that you reached out to me, Andrea, and
Thanks.
so good luck to everyone.
Thank
Okay?
you very much.
Thank you, Bob.
And thank you, Dwight. We see you here as well. Any other public comment? Okay, let's move on to the minutes. If anyone didn't get a chance to look over the minutes, please do. I don't know if there's anything that needs to be modified. I did not see anything that needed change from my perspective.
A lot of information in this one, so thank you.
Yes,
Thank you
yes,
for tracking all of that. So,
yes.
I did go over it this afternoon. I'd make a motion to accept the minutes, from September 23rd.
Right, I second that. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye?
Actually, Billy, I guess you would need to abstain because you weren't here for that particular day. So, yeah, but I'm glad you support it. All right. Liaison reports. So, Mika, please.
The last meeting, there were two major items that we went over in addition to the pretty much normal Board of Selectmen type of agenda. The two items were, there was a presentation done by the Amity Finance Committee and Amity Board of Education with regards to the projects that they're looking to go to referendum bond. They're looking for bonding to go to referendum. And that's a list of projects that included a facilities type of, half of it, about a little more than half of it was for facilities, and, I'm sorry, like, I would say infrastructure facilities, HVAC, things of that nature, air handlers, more things, parking lot replacement, things of that. And then there was a portion of which would be for athletic facilities that they would be replacing. So I'm sure you've heard of it, but that was presented to the Board of Selectmen, and they'll be moving forward with that. There was a referendum planned for December, from what I understand, I believe it's December 4th is the planned referendum for that. The board also had discussion and voted as relates to the Country Club of Woodbridge proposal so that it would include the Werner, the new folks who are engaged with that project, along with Insight. And then there was a special meeting that I did not attend, that I was not able to attend, where during the initial meeting, we identified dates for both the town meeting and the referendum. They were 11/12 and 12/11. Subsequently, we had a special meeting, and based on inputs and based on a number of other circumstances, it's my understanding that that's been postponed at this point in time. So that was that came through since. So there was also a report delivered, close to the final report from the Budget Task Force. And one of the things I did want to bring up today specifically was the process that we've gone through on this. We've at this point in time met with all of the major departments, all of the different department heads, and our next step would be to meet with we've also discussed the ideas that and when we say we discuss ideas between those departments and things that we had heard from either other departments or other Tony brought forth some recommendations from other communities, things of that nature. And what we were looking for is a sharing of ideas as to what we can do to improve the budget process. And I think I've gone over this with you folks before, so you're aware of what I'm talking about. Our next step would be to meet with the heads of the boards, and then to review in detail some of the ideas that we came up with. We've categorized the ideas in terms of short-term, medium, and long-term. And there is a chart that'll go out, and I'll have it for you. As a matter of fact, Jim, I'll email it to you tomorrow. And if you can distribute it to the folks here, that would be very helpful. I'm sorry that I didn't bring copies today. A little problem with the printer, but and what we'd like to do is start to establish a process for ongoing discussion and implementation of some of the ideas that are felt to be good ideas to go forward with. For rec specifically, a few things that we came in, John, you were part of the meeting, if I'm not mistaken, with Sandy and Matt and those folks. There was a meeting held with the department itself, with the task force.
Yes.
And I wasn't able to attend that one, so I wasn't part of it. But from what I understand, what came out of it was felt that some of the things that we would look at is a review of the part-time help, more along the lines of understanding exactly how much there is, what they're doing, things of that nature, just to qualify exactly what's going on from a part-time help standpoint. Identify any overlaps with programs that there might be with other departments. Identify any underutilized programs. One of the items specifically discussed was a fitness center and what other potential options there might be for that. And just to give you an idea, when we say what other options, whether there's a potential for some program with JCC for folks who are involved in it, or if there's something else, just in terms of, again, all of this looking at how do we improve the service and or how do we reduce the costs associated with the service, or supplement the costs in some instances with different programs, such as what you're doing with the private swimming lessons. Also, there was probably the most significant discussion was the potential or the review of an integration of the rec commission or the rec department and the human services department under one general community services type of an organization. There's a lot that needs to be done for anything along those lines to occur, but that was probably the most significant idea that was considered. And that's one that's certainly based on some of the things that other communities are doing. They do have community services that includes those types of functions. And it allows for, obviously, some consolidation as far as not only programs, as far as in personnel, and anything that's discussed from a personnel standpoint would be done under executive session. But those are the thoughts and those are the ideas that were reviewed at the time when we were having the discussions from a budget task force standpoint. So what the next step would be is to meet with Andrea and representatives from the board, from the commission, and go over those a little bit more to understand exactly what needs to be done to either forward these or to put them aside or to come up with some things that we hadn't thought about before. And subsequently to present it here as an agenda item specifically to review it and see what we can do going into the budget period at this point in time, which really starts next month, to see what we can do about incorporating some of these things and coming up with some ideas. Any questions?
I assume the merging of two departments would be in the category of long-term planning.
It is.
That wouldn't,
It is.
that wouldn't,
There's a lot of
there's no way
meetings.
that would affect a budget, the next budget coming up.
Don't expect that it would, Mike.
Okay.
But yes, I
Okay.
agree with you. It could be, I'd say medium to long, depending on exactly
Okay.
to what degree it needed to be done. Or, what degree we felt it could be done. And it only can be done after additional discussion.
Mhm.
But I believe that those discussions will begin in the short term. So implementation or review
Right.
or analysis, evaluation, whatever you want to call it, will start in the short term so that you can determine whether in the long term there's potential for it.
Was there any discussion about recreation and parks together?
Not specifically, but it's not something that's ruled out or anything along those lines. Everything discussed was ideas,
Right.
thoughts. So, that's, it's an interesting thought. It's one, I've always thought they work together. until
Right,
they became
I did too.
involved.
Right, people often
So-
say Parks and Rec,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
but
Yeah.
Are you my own TV show?
definitely. So the next meeting, so we would set up a meeting,
I'd like to set up a meeting with yourself and any representatives who want to attend from the
Yeah.
board soon,
Are you-
like this week if
this week
possible.
would
Mhm.
be good.
And then we can, go from there. We hope in the timeframe from the November time. So we would, at the next meeting, maybe start having discussions in regards to the items that have been reviewed.
Okay, and is this meeting a meeting that would include, John as the department rec director, or is this, gonna be rec commissioners at this meeting?
I don't feel strongly one way or another about that, to be honest with you. So, yeah, it's,
Yeah, okay.
I would kind of like to be there.
Yeah, I would think that would be relevant. So we
I
should,
don't think there was any direction given as far as that's concerned, so I think
Yeah.
it's open.
I think it makes sense to keep that open. You're pretty,
We'll talk later.
okay, so
Mhm.
we'll figure out a time that could work.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or thoughts about this? That's a big discussion.
And welcome, very much welcome input. So if you've got
Okay.
something that you feel about that, by all means, reach out. Let us know.
Thanks, Mika. While you're on liaison reports, any more word about the firehouse?
I do not. I honestly do not. I know that the plans to go forward, there was, I believe, a change order that it needed to take place. And I believe that's been cared for. If I'm not mistaken,
We approved the change order,
thank you. That's,
and it's, right now, the work that's being done at the firehouse is currently planned to be completed by the end of the year. get the
Grant.
money from the grant.
Mhm.
There is no plans right now to complete the balance of the firehouse, which is about a little over $1 million, $1.4 million, whatever it is. There are no plans right now.
So the grant, it's the current grant to finish sort of the roughing out of,
It's just some mechanical equipment, it's just some electrical equipment. It's gonna be the roof on Bay 3, which is leaking. That was one of the changes,
okay.
we implemented.
So it doesn't define the space
It
at
has
all?
nothing to do with the interior, the space, or nothing of fitting out, or who's going where.
Okay, and is there, so the next step would be another grant, I assume?
No, it would be funding. I don't believe if there's a grant available and there's a grant given, but that doesn't seem I know that what we looked at is actual funding for the remaining, and that's very much based on the plan for the use plan for the space, particularly the upper space, which
Sure.
we're in negotiation, which I understand the First Selectman's office is in negotiating with the Amity Board of Education to define what it could be used for and to define the parameters of that, which would then determine what we do.
Right.
There was an opportunity to save a considerable amount of money from the Board of Ed standpoint by utilizing that space for a program from Amity Board of Education. If we're able to save that, it then, the funding becomes less of a concern or a challenge if we know that there's gonna be savings associated with that funding. And that's the way it last appeared,
Okay,
and I know that they're working on that.
okay. And so there's no further discussion about the fitness center? Well, I guess there's other discussions about the fitness center going on, but.
There's discussions
yeah.
about the fitness center, but there's been no change in terms of what that space was going to be as part of what I'll refer to as phase one, for lack of
Sure.
a better term.
Sure,
But
okay,
that, one way or another doesn't change, that didn't change that.
okay, all right.
Repeat that again for me, there's no,
I know of no change. Nobody has said, we're not putting a fitness center there, that we're doing this instead. There's not been anything along those lines that has been official from my perspective.
Okay.
Have you heard any update about a representative from the finance board to be on our committee?
I have not yet, well, I shouldn't say that. I was at a meeting where they were going to select someone, but I don't know who that
Okay.
is, Smith. But yes, I know that they were looking to select someone,
Okay,
but I don't know who it is.
okay.
Okay.
Actually, I believe Ellen Skeletar was chosen, but she's,
Yes,
yeah.
she was.
Oh,
She's
she
gonna
did?
Ellen
miss-
Skeletar,
because
yes.
Tony,
But I knew
she's
she,
gonna miss the next 2 meetings or something
right,
like that.
she said right up front that she would do it, but she had a conflict for the first couple of meetings, so,
I saw that she couldn't make tonight's meeting. I was surprised. I
Yeah.
didn't realize in what capacity.
yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good to know.
She
Okay,
is
so
the
it'll be on.
finance liaison, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, good, all right. Reports. I guess I don't have a specific report. I guess I'm curious how the Fall Palooza
That's what I was gonna do.
went.
So, I'm gonna refer that to John, because a couple weeks ago, they had the, Woodbridge Trails Day, and, did you go?
Yes.
We had, I know we had a bunch of representatives there.
yeah,
Right.
we had Nate and Jerry from our staff were right there to walk with about a dozen people. They took them out, they went around the whole program, and then we all met over at the Fitzgerald property, and we planted a tree. And the individual that they had come in to plant from Bethany was an expert, I mean, a real expert in knowing how to do and what to do with trees, and he explained to every little bit of it as he put the tree in and did it. I've gotta come over to the house to do my apple trees.
Oh, nice.
So he's good, but it was really nice, and we met some more other people that were over there at the walking trails, stopped to listen. It was a good half-hour discussion of how to put tree in, what to do, and the town parks department mowed out the area, and everything was all set, and it was a really good turnout.
Were you happy with the recreation department's involvement in the program? Like, were you okay with us just contributing to the walk and not really having?
Oh, yeah,
any
no, we did our
involvement
part.
in it?
A wheel has all kinds of spokes, and they're all put together, they make a full wheel roll. And that's what we did. We did our part, and we made sure that nothing happened to that like this, because there were some extenuating circumstances that had happened, and we needed to cover it, but we did. We covered it as a department, and it worked out really nice.
And you're prepared if I'm in the planning process, next year, it's okay if we continue with the hike?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, recreation would like to be in a part of a lot of those things, all those things that, are part of the town, the rec department should be part of.
Okay. Thank you.
Excellent. Was the tree, was there a, do you know what kind of tree? I was just wondering if you know. Was,
It had leaves on it and
was it, now the tree planting was part of,
It was a type of an oak.
it was an oak tree. It was it was white oak.
White oak,
White oak.
It was
right.
white oak. I remember that, like you're saying, because then we had a discussion about black oak, which is a real harder, not a good tree, but it was, because I cooked that in my stove.
and was it dedicated? Was there,
It was,
why the tree? I mean, it's
It was-
lovely that she was
John, I
planted,
don't
but
know
what
if
was the,
Yeah, I'm not,
I was wondering if there was a
taking more notes on
dedication.
that.
no, I could,
Okay,
if I can assist.
Yeah.
It marked the 100th anniversary of Connecticut's law or Connecticut, the arborists, there are certified arborists. In Connecticut, I think, was one of the first, if not the first, to actually require certification for arborists for certain situations. And it was in honor of the 100th anniversary of that particular situation.
nice.
So, yeah, it was kind of a cool thing.
And where would we find this tree for those who weren't there?
If you come into the Fitzgerald property and drive straight down as you're going to the gardens,
Yes,
as you hit the first set of gardens, right there on the left in the open field
yes.
is a place. And the name of the company is Woodbridge Estate Care Tree and Landscaping. I have it right here.
Very nice.
And his name was Richard Lewis.
Okay.
He said he didn't want to be an arborist because his dad was an arborist. He wanted to be something else. He wanted to college and become this. And he went back and he said, no, these are my roots and this is what I do. And he had
Literally,
his- and his
literally. Well,
assistant
he's
was-
setting roots.
Yeah, and
That's great.
That's true.
That's
And-
great.
And his daughter just got her certificate.
I was just
Oh,
gonna
really?
say,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
she was
cool.
there too. She was there and she was certified and she came. The truck she had was a beauty.
Old guy.
That's great. It's great to see planting going on. Policies and procedures. What have we got? Do we have any, so there's a policy for protection of youth, which we talked about a lot in past years. John, do you wanna speak on this a little bit?
Yeah, we have a policy that we put together. It's a bullying policy that we felt that we need to have because we have so many children in so many different aspects and so many different programs, and so many different levels of skill and ability that we needed that, to put something into effect that we can fall back onto as our strength. And this was the bullying policy, which we don't allow bullying or teasing allowed like this. We just had an incident of teasing in the locker room. Somebody said something about somebody like this, and it was a second grader saying it to a kindergartner. And the kindergartner went home upset, about what was said. And we took the bull by the horns, went right in. We resolved it. It was part of the swimming program. So Teresa put together a great program, having the children come in and sit down in the bleachers, and we sat down and went over the bullying policy and people's feelings and children's feelings. And we also explained we have a changing room. We have a changing room that anybody can use if they feel uncomfortable. We have made a policy, we do not go in the locker room. We do not go in the locker room. Beach Road School does not go in the locker room anymore. No adults are allowed in the locker room at the time. But we've decided to put a person outside the locker room. I tested the theory this past week. I stood outside the locker room. I made it a game between the boys' locker room and the girls' locker room. Who can get out first and be the first one out there? And, you go back and forth. And the first program ends at 4:05. The children weren't getting out of the locker room till 4:40, which means they were going to be in there when adults come in for the adult swim lesson. So they have to be out there by 4:20, like this, because we don't open up the locker rooms to 4:40, like that. So it was a crossover. So now they were out by 4:15. So that policy worked, and we're gonna have somebody outside the locker room, just open the door and say, you have 5 more minutes, 5 minutes to get out, like this, and then they're out by 4:20, they're gone. And that gives us a 15-20-minute space between the adults coming in and the children leaving the pool. And it seems to be working out tremendously. And Teresa put this whole thing together and handed out flyers to all the parents. All the parents got a flyer on what has to be done, what can be done, and what we're doing, so they understand.
Excellent. So if there's any concern that comes in the locker room, there's an adult just outside.
Just outside the door.
And available if someone gets
there's an emergency
injured,
or
or
anything
there's
happens,
bullying, or
yeah.
anything like that.
What is the most number of kids that are in the locker room at a time?
It varies.
Doesn't?
It varies by how many kids are in lessons.
Well, they're crossovers.
Yeah.
They're coming out of the
Right.
pool, they're going into the pool, so
So
it could
maybe
be
like
6 or 7, a dozen
15.
coming out, 20,
Yeah, it's-
around a dozen going in like that, like this, and they're quickly going, then the locker room's
Right.
empty.
Right.
And then what, is there a little bit of wiggle room between the community coming in or adults coming in?
20 minutes. If they're out there by 20 after, the adults aren't logged in until 20 of.
Okay,
Okay, so there's a big gap,
okay,
and they're gone.
okay, great, thank you. Is this policy available on the website, or if people have questions about that?
It's on the town website.
Should something like this be, I don't know if something like this needs to be on the town website. Mika, do you have an opinion about this, or, I mean, we have it in our policy manual at the rec department, so if there's ever concerns or questions, we have it readily available.
Well, I've had a couple parents ask me, is it online? And we said no, but we have it in the office if you want a copy of it like this. But I think it should be online.
It's not under Recreation Department on,
No, it's
No, I
not on
don't
the
think so.
website, check.
okay, I mean, that should be a no-brainer, that's certainly.
Yeah, well, we're not allowed to
doable.
put things online or anything like that. It has to go through town hall, so we'd have to come
I
over.
mean, I guess Betsy, you know.
We
if-
could ask,
Yeah,
we have to
it's a way
ask
to-
permission to put it online. If they say it's okay, then we can do it.
Okay,
Otherwise, we would have done it already.
sure.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll get that.
Okay, that's
A quick question, so the policy for the protection of youth, I looked through this today, and it's quite extensive. It has a lot of good information. I'm just curious, how do you implement this with all the different employees that we have, especially the part-timers? Do they go through a training? Who's responsible for that, and how often is it reviewed?
So at the beginning of each semester for lessons, we go through it with the employees, the swim teachers, we go through the pamphlet with them. So when lessons each start, and then some of the lifeguards are also swim instructors too, so they go through it too. And as a new employee, say if you're just a lifeguard, Teresa goes over it with you.
Same
So-
thing with afternoon sports with David. David does the same thing with his crew when he gets together at the beginning of the season, like in the fall, we start school. And he'll sit down, and he'll highlight almost each one of these. He won't go through it exactly, every single thing, but he'll highlight what has to be done and what to do, and mostly how to report it, what you see and what you do, and to make sure, report something, even if you don't think it's that important, report it anyways.
And then she has them sign saying they've understand what they've read
Okay.
and stuff like that.
Okay, all right.
So
Yeah.
everyone who works at rec goes
Right,
through
I
this.
think the only ones we have to do is we have to hand it out, we're gonna hand this out at the summer camp at the beginning when we have our basic meeting. Every single one of the employees will get one of these for summer camp, because there's a lot of people that just work summer camp and don't work during the year. So we've gotta
Okay.
cover our bases that way. That's a good point.
Is this
Good.
something that they have to renew every year or do every year, or is it just, will it go through as long as they work?
Well, it won't be in every year, but most likely it's gonna be overlapping for a lot of them,
Yeah.
because when lessons start, they're gonna go over it again.
Right,
Right.
right.
So for
Same
those,
thing.
and the lifeguards will be doing the same thing. So
Yeah.
they'll probably get it at least for lessons, 2 to 4 times a year, most of it, like every 3 months, give or take.
And same thing with the afternoon.
Great, thank you for pulling this together, thank
Oh,
you
you're
to
welcome.
Teresa,
You're
oops, I'm
welcome.
sorry, to Teresa, sorry if I just blasted someone's ears out there. Thanks. Speaking of, there's something, Mika, I think we were gonna ask you, I know, when we were talking about, publishing, getting a larger page space in the, local news, I can't remember if Mika, you were gonna,
I did,
check into that?
I
Yeah.
did broach it with Betsy, she said she had spoken to you about it, Jim, okay,
so what's the plan?
that I don't know.
Well, it's not just adding one, she was saying it's like 11 by 14 page. So you're adding, there's 3 other blank pages that would have to be added. So she also said the cost of adding that page and the extra weight, so all those factors were involved, wasn't in the budget. So it's not just as simple as just adding one page, there then would have to be 3 other pages added to it. Cause it's like, you fold the page in half and you have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts, so you'd have to fold 4 parts.
So if we had 3 pages of information, which we probably don't, I mean, we could, but, so at this point, it's half a page? Is
Yeah,
is
you
that how
still
that's
have
left?
half a page, yeah.
So the way to get more space is if there are other departments that also require more, or if it's really,
Sounds like there's a concern with actually the sending it out, the mailing, the weight, the,
Yeah.
to be on there. I'll I'll review it with Betsy just to see exactly how much of a concern those are.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I mean, I guess we wanna make sure we have, this might be a little bit sidetracked, that we are able to put out whatever information, you know, so the community knows what we're doing, and knows the team behind RAC, really.
And there are a couple of departments I know that get a full page. Isn't there?
Probably the library, human
The library.
services, right, probably,
So I don't
I don't know
know,
how, who decided that.
Right.
Yeah.
but, yeah, I have noticed that there's some that have the whole page, so I don't know how we can.
Make
Because
it
maybe we've
more,
exhausted our
More
requests.
egalitarian.
We're Cinderella. The stepsister's got everything.
Jim, maybe we can connect and you just fill me in with what she said. That way when I call her, I'm clear on
Okay.
everything, and then, but I'll reach out to her if you, once you and I connect, if you don't
Okay.
mind. All right?
Okay.
And Andrea, we'll get very specific in terms of what can or can't be done.
Okay, sounds good. All right, okay. I think we're up to the pool.
So we went over
Chris?
the bullying and all that policy, that was a major part of the last
Yes.
month and everything. So lessons going along very well. Besides the bullying thing, everything's great with it. The locker rooms and everything have been taken care of great between the two janitors, between Mondays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Sunday. That's
Excellent.
basically
Any
it.
complaints about?
Nope.
No,
The
we
locker
have
rooms or anything
Jerry
like that?
and Jesse are
They
two
do great.
really good workers, they're two
Excellent.
nice people, and they, very concerned with the job that they do.
Good.
Which is good.
Okay, good. And the new lessons are all,
Everything's going well, yes.
And if we receive a complaint like we did about, I guess, the paper towels, were jammed up with some of this, we went down with Jerry and we took it apart, he and I, and we found that the roll was just simply not been put between the two pegs, so it
Properly.
rolled over to the corner and wound up like this. We cut it out, and it's been working perfect like that. So
That's really the
but-
only
But
complaint
that's
about
it,
that.
if people,
That's-
in our department, if people complain like this, we go right into it, we don't wait.
yeah.
Because you have to solve the problem right away, because we open up the next day.
Yeah, you're very action-oriented, which
Yes.
is great. Any other pool questions?
Has the private lesson started? I'm just curious as to.
No, not at the moment, no.
Yeah.
We're working on finalizing everything. She said she'll have everything to me, so when I come next month, I can give you guys everything, the final. But her whole month kinda took on the whole bullying
Bullying
crowd,
thing.
yeah.
I can see
It
that.
kinda took a lot of her time, so.
Priority, yeah. Well, that was important to
Yeah.
take care of.
The other one kinda went on the side for a little bit to take care of that, so.
Capital, oh, no, excuse me, road
Kathy's not here, she's
race.
sick. She's not feeling
Ah,
well, so
sorry to
she's
hear
gonna be-
that.
She'll be at the next meeting.
Well, what, I guess one question, you might know the answer to this. I know this year, we had good weather, but there was that, conflict where Bethany had, was it the middle
Bethany-
school?
Color.
Right.
They had it was like the color thing or whatever.
Yeah,
They had an
they had a
event
program on the same
at the same
day as we
time.
had. We spoke with them, we met with them, and they apologized. They didn't realize that, you have to check in to see who else has something at the time, so they did. That impacts us a little bit, but,
Yeah.
the pink race in Seymour impacts us a lot. There's about 28 people from Woodbridge that run in the pink, and there was one in Derby too. So some people may have run there. So-
All on the same day.
all on the
Yes.
same day. So I went in and I researched the weeks before, the weeks after, because you have to get a timer, and the timer is most important, and we have, Tommy Jacobs from the high school, is the
Sure.
best timing program that there is, and he does everything for us. And he had his open date, when I went there, I said, this is great, we had 2 open dates, and on one, there were 6 at the same date in the area here, and the other one, there were 5, so where we are is just 2, maybe 3, and the other one's gonna be canceled, that's gonna be changed, the date of that one's
The
gonna be changed.
Bethany one will be
The
changed.
Bethany one, so we should be back to, we usually average a little over 100.
Yeah,
And before they had the pink race in Seymour, we averaged about 120. So
and is the pink race always on the same weekend?
same weekend as us. I just, but maybe we want to sit down and look at it and see, and maybe come up with something, like each year come up with something we're going to do. One year we did it for Lyme disease. We had this,
Yes.
and we do something. We find a program like heart disease or something like this, and we could associate with that program and we put it out there and say this is what we're doing, and get a little more help in that area.
Yeah.
But it was well attended. It was attended. It was a beautiful day.
Yeah.
How many registrants this year?
Was it
How
84.
84.
84 and 36 in the kid.
Yeah, the
race.
kids race was a little,
Well, that's because of the junior high. A lot of the kids went that way. And we also have, because of our running club, because we have a real good running club, we had about 5 or 6 that just decided to run the 5K
Oh, nice.
And we had one runner do it one of our kids from the, running club did it in 20.17,
Wow.
which is
Yeah, it's
unbelievable for a
incredible.
sixth grader.
Yeah, it was really impressive.
Yeah.
I was there and things ran really smoothly.
Sorry.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so it went well.
Yeah, yeah. Also, I wondered if the cornfield, if that run was impacted by the whole mosquito.
Not at that point. Not at that point. It wasn't out there yet. It wasn't out yet. And when it was impacted and we were told to move, we worked with Beecher Road School, with the nurse at Beecher Road School. We worked with Quinnipiac Health like that. And then we decided to make the decision to go inside and that they would tell us when. And then Quinnipiac Health called us. And so this week we're outside.
Right.
This week we can go. It's the last week of the road of the running club is this Friday. So we're outside today. We'll be outside Wednesday. And then Friday, we're inside at Beecher for we have a breakfast on the last day, and we work in the consensus loop. And for this year, for the first time ever, we're going to have a winter program. We're going to open up December 2nd, and we're going to have an indoor program, and then use the consensus loop at Beecher Road School North if it's a beautiful day, because sometimes in the winter you get some real nice days.
Sure.
And if we have a program that day, we can use it there, or we can work inside.
Excellent.
So we're going to make it 3 seasons instead of 2.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay. Capital budget.
In your packet, you have a capital budget. On the first page, we have the shuffleboard court. One shuffleboard court is up and in and running and playing, and all our equipment is at the senior center. And there's no charge, you just go over and sign it out and bring it over and do it that way. The second court, we decided not to put it in that area. We didn't have the room to fit it in. We were squeezing it really tight. So we're looking for another space. We have the equipment, it's stored. And when we can find a nice space, we'll wait and see what it is. And these are portable courts. They can be picked up and taken up and moved anywhere. Like there's the only thing underneath them is like a sand filler to level it, and that's all. So that's
Right.
there. The next one is the ice skating rink. That's in progress. We'll be talking about that later in the meeting. Gymnastics equipment, it's completed. We bought the equipment that we needed. We replaced equipment after so many years. The safety of equipment has to be used because you just can't, afford to get on. It might just snap at a certain
Sure.
point, so we replace it. And the north tennis courts are completed, and the town did a beautiful job
Great.
for those programs. Then the budget itself is simply moved over. I put back into the budget, which was cut out last year, was the PVC boundary piping. When Jim has an outdoor program for volleyball at the country club outside there in the sand lots like this. And this is just to keep everything in containing so it doesn't wash out like this when it's played. I saw this in New Jersey. It works very well. The big PVC all around the outside, and it keeps everything, nothing can get out, and it's rounded so nobody will really get hurt.
Excellent.
The second one for 2012 is our replacement, elliptical machines and treadmill replacement we have down. This is just an ongoing thing. After so many years, the equipment at the thing is commercialized. And so many years commercial, it's not like I'd have it at home, you use it, you don't get on it like this. Our machine, somebody will get on it, use it, get off, the next person comes in, next person comes in, next person comes in. It can be used 5, 6, 7 times a day and a minimum of 25 to 30 minutes a person, like that. So we just have a rotating, as a piece of equipment goes out, we take it out. We don't really throw it out, we take it out and we scrap it. We put it in a room, we hang on to this, and we can bring up some of the parts, like the handles and things like that, that don't get ruined, and re-put them onto another machine to keep them going. Rob Kenyon is our director, and he does a great job at keeping those machines going.
Excellent repurposing.
Right, so we don't cost the town anymore. Then we have gymnastics equipment, that's a couple years down the road for the next pieces of equipment that will be, getting, so as we rotate, we don't just buy them all at once. You rotate 2 or 3 in, then you wait a couple years and you rotate the next 2 in, so you have a rotation, so you don't get hit with a $20,000 bill all at once. You just nick and dime it all the way down the road, so it doesn't cost you a lot, but you get your equipment changed. And that's just an ongoing one with the gymnastics equipment.
John, let me just jump in one quick second here. So at the bottom of each one of these proposals, there's a percentage and how it's being funded.
Right.
So all of this is coming out of the rec general fund?
The capital budget, yes.
Okay.
But only the first year, only 1 year is there. The rest of it is just wish and hope and pray that the economy changes to good and the Yankees win. We'll go on.
All right.
All right, the next one is the fitness station. The fitness station, we did half the fitness station at the Fitzgerald property, and that was done by a boy who did an Eagle Scout project. So we bought the equipment, and then he supplied all the labor, everything like that. It had to be done like this. And he just got his, he was up in A. Jacob, and he got his Eagle Award there, which was great, has ceremony and everything. So that was that. The next one is the Recreation Townwide Activity Tent. This is something I thought would be great for the town. We don't have anything big to go under like this. If we have an event, like, let's say, we're gonna hold something on the grounds over here like this, and it could be held underneath one tent. Same thing like with the road race. Everything can be held, we put up what, about 8, 9 tents?
Give or take, yeah.
Give or take 8 or 9 tents for the small tents, try to make it together. One big tent, we did it one year, Wayne Luciani donated his large tent because they didn't have to use it. He brought it up here and put it up and everything like this. We had everything under one tent. It was beautiful. Everybody came underneath it. We registered underneath it. Everybody got in there, and if there was any rain or anything, you had a great area just to be under. So I thought this would be something that down the road we could look to utilize. And it'll be for the town. It won't just for the rec department. It could be for the town to use anywhere.
What happened, the tent that was at the country club, was that a rental? Or
No,
was
that's
that-
ours. That's ours, but it's built on that, it's a
Concrete
steel
slab.
frame tent.
So we can't take it anywhere, or?
Well, you and I could probably lift it, but I don't know about these other guys. They might not be
Yeah,
able
we're
to get
gonna
it.
be,
Is it specially engineered to
Yes,
fit
to
on that,
fit on that.
concrete,
oh, on the concrete.
On the
on the
concrete
concrete
base like
slab, the base?
But that would be a nice place to have programs too. If we do open up and they put up a cabana there, if they build a small cabana by the pool and everything, that's a fabulous place for birthday parties, for anything like this, for rec to have. We could utilize it right there, and that's
Yeah.
stored right now.
Yeah,
Do
it
you know how
is.
big that one is?
What do you think?
It's pretty big, right?
It's gotta be like 30 by 30 or something.
Quite large.
Okay.
It's really large.
Is that the size you're thinking when you think about the?
Yeah,
is that what
same
you're-
thing for this one. This one's portable. And,
So if we did get this 30 by 50 tent, where would we put that?
in the next trailer we buy,
It has to fit in one of the three. There's not,
Then let me
not a
move this-
fourth, not a fourth, not a fourth.
can afford.
We can stack them.
Well, you're gonna see down the road, we do the skating rink, what's gonna happen, we're gonna be utilizing whatever space we have left in one of the programs, because we have David did a fabulous, just want to tell you, Dave did a fabulous job. He stored those 3 trailers, and he left me space where we have the tents, we have all the tents stored, and on top of it, I can put an 8x4 sheet of plywood, and that's where the skating rink parts are gonna go, like, because it comes apart,
fit.
there's a stack right there. But, this is big.
This is
You know
big.
what, we can
That's a big
share,
tent.
we can share, because the fire department has some like this, and Chris is into the fire department.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We could store it somewhere.
Is there a tent that size at the fire department?
No.
No. No, they're just, cool. Well, actually, we share tents, they borrow ours, we borrow
Yes,
theirs
yes.
if we need them. We
Yeah.
work together table-wise, we do the same thing, instead of buying more tables, we have 10, they have 10, that's 20 total. We share back and forth,
It's the way to be,
that's
sharing.
how it works.
Sharing is caring, that's
The
good.
next one is an outdoor basketball court in 2024. I'm not sure where this will go, but we have to sit down and think, and there might be a great spot for this, put in and over it, once we get, it's a few years down the road, so maybe the country club area will be ours, it'll be knocked down, it'll be like this, level like this. We come in and we just put in an asphalt top like this and put up a basketball court. We had a beautiful one at West River Field.
Yes.
The one at West River Field, though, was too close to the baseball line. When you go out of bounds, you need 12 feet from the foul line out of bounds for a player to stop. Like this, and we had 2.5 feet, and they ended up on a court. So that had to be removed
Yeah.
like that. So this is a good one that we could put in. And then the last one in 2026, I don't know if you know, have you ever heard of this one, Dwight? This is the 90-foot diamond in Woodbridge. This is a program, I wanted to put this in, it's 2026, it's a pie in the sky thing down the road, but it's something that we should leave in there so people could see that, maybe sometime when we get some extra room or someplace like that, or we get a heavy donation or something like this, we could put a 90-foot diamond in. We don't have access to a 90-foot diamond. The 90-foot diamond is used by the high school, and they have rules and restrictions on that, and the thing that hurts us the most is that, the season ends, and then they have the playoffs and everything like that. Well, Amity High School, the coach at Amity High School is an excellent coach, and Mr. Capola, team always makes the playoffs. So they're playing an extra 2 or 3 weeks, and the Fathers League starts to play, and there's no place to go to play, And if you build it, they will come. It's what we do, and this is how we do it. So I think it's something that we should leave in there for prosperity down the road, so there'll be something. And that's our proposal.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions, any other questions? Okay,
And the vote to approve it? The motion to,
do we have a motion? Let's make a motion to approve this budget,
And we approve as
the
presented.
capital projects.
I
Second it.
Any discussion? Any further discussion?
So any of these things can be moved up in connection with the purchase of the country club?
Yes, yes, that, as the country club gets completed or gets space, we find out more we can do, programs can be changed from like the 2025 or 26, it can run to 22, we can switch them around, whatever we feel that we need at that point, we have the space, we have the ability to put it somewhere, and we can do that at any time. Good point.
Any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thanks,
you,
Jim. Thank you. The commission meeting dates we have here from Jim. Okay, so we're back to no July meeting.
I left that like we did this year with no July meeting. If you feel like you wanna add the July meeting, you know, put it in. I didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, we put it in when we had the pool open, if,
Yeah, we need help, yeah.
by some chance that
Yeah.
happens and we have some input, then we could always add it.
Jim, could you remind us about this December meeting? I know this is gonna be a lot, tricky for maybe a lot of people that are away
Yeah.
after the holidays.
This one coming up is
Yeah. No, no,
December
t-
18th.
2020.
Wait, in 2020, December, so move that one.
I know, can we move it up?
Yeah,
Before
cause
the
that's
holidays?
during like a school break,
Okay, so-
school recess, school break.
Yeah.
So you're looking at December 21st for that one?
When is-
You want it before then?
Maybe even,
A combined January, or,
so,
you got nothing on January 1st, right?
let's say,
Did you want to combine
Combine,
November with
December?
December, early, and make it earlier in December?
early in December,
That's a
I
great
think,
idea.
right? Yeah, so, let's see,
Third week?
2020.
2020, let's flip.
Thanksgiving is the 26th.
Yes,
Thanksgiving.
so,
Yeah.
there's December.
Can we combine them both to like December 7th?
Yeah, don't have a November and make it one, December,
December and November together.
yeah,
December seventh?
so December 7th, and we
I just
cross
hope
out
it's
November
not gonna get
23rd.
torpedoed.
Pearl Harbor Day.
What's that?
I hope we don't get torpedoed on that day,
Hopefully
Pearl
not.
Harbor Day.
Pearl Harbor Day, you got it.
Does that cut into
No.
any decisions? That seems to make sense, right?
Yeah, there's, yeah.
I don't think it hurts.
Yeah, cause otherwise the 23rd, is that the Monday before Thanksgiving?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Thanksgiving is the 26th, yeah.
Yeah, if we could combine those two,
Okay.
that should,
Okay.
So how about we make a motion to combine the November, December meeting of 2020 and make it December 7th at 7 PM.
I make the motion.
Do we have a-
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah. Trailers.
Trailers have been purchased, and we got a confirmation from the town that if that area has to be removed, they have to remove, the town will find us a spot to place the trailers in, and we still have the trailers. They gave us that confirmation.
So
Where are
3
they now?
trailers.
Is it a country
At the
club?
country club in the far parking lot near the tennis courts,
Okay.
in the corner.
So one of the things on the wish list was if they could return to Beach Road School with just the faces
Just the
pushed in.
faces shown in the bottom parking lot as you drive out, the bottom parking lot, that last end, if we can push them back in there, there's nothing there but small tiny little trees. Put them so they're even with the end of the road and you wouldn't see them. Cause the hill starts right after it, so the hill blocks it on the left, and on the right, there'd be, 200 feet of trees to the road. And the only thing you would see was the fronts. Before we had them in Beecher parking lot, lower parking lot, but in the parking lot itself, we blocked off parking spaces, we had them, one was, two going this way, one going the other way. Now, if we put them down there at the bottom in the corner over there, they'd be off the road, not impacting, because there's no parking on that corner, and that's only a one-way out, there's not a two-way street there.
Right.
I think that would be excellent position, and it would help us, because then our equipment would be right there at
It would be
Beecher
right
School.
there.
Be right there for us, instead of like Dave and I have to send Dave over with the crew, and we have to go all the way over there, and, you know, even if we need something little, we have to go over there, because we
Right.
don't allow too many keys for those, because,
So how
Right.
do you start that discussion?
Yeah.
Is that something that you?
that's something I think maybe we sit down with the Leon Zay from the Board of Selectmen from Recreation, Mika, and put another thing on his plate, and then we talk to him and see who we talk to at Beecher Road. Who do we talk to, and how do we talk to them about possibly doing something like that on their property? It's their property.
Was Tony involved with that discussion too?
Purchase, he was, and also
so.
the confirmation that it could be moved, he was.
Yes.
Yeah,
I did not bring up the, where you wanna put it
Yeah,
to
we-
him at this point, but I can, and I will.
Yeah.
It's definitely a Board of Education, Superintendent, Board of Education decision. But I'm sure Tony or somebody at Town Hall can facilitate that.
Yeah.
So,
so,
Be a nice move.
yeah.
And it's interesting, you said it's the school's property, or, I'm not sure if that's true. It might be the town's property.
Oh, you mean that
Oh, no,
area?
Isn't there,
on
isn't
the-
there like an E9 form or something like that?
Doesn't the school own the town? I mean,
Well, that's the
doesn't
building.
school.
I'm thinking of the building, Mike. I'm
Yeah,
thinking of the
no,
building. The
Yeah.
building is Board of Education property, but maybe
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
maybe it's
The
town
grounds,
property.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
you're
you're,
right.
and you're talking about the South School?
South
Yeah.
School,
Lower
lower
way
parking
down.
lot, just before you leave to go out the bottom.
On the right.
On the left-hand side, the
On
hills
the
there, you
left,
can't see them,
okay.
on the left, on the left.
Okay.
Not on the right, because the right is open. The right is, you'll
Right.
put them on the right now, you can just drop them, but then they're wide
Oh,
open.
on the left.
On the
Okay.
left, you wouldn't see them at all
got a few
because they'd be
trees.
buried. The only one you would see is the three fronts and the one side,
Right,
because the hill is right next to it.
Right.
and there's
Well, if you
no-
don't mind, Mika, I mean, it's worth investigating, because if the project over there starts going forward, I
Yeah.
suspect someone's gonna say, can we move these?
I agree.
And if we're gonna move them, might as
It
well
should be
move them once to
Yeah.
Yeah.
the most optimal location,
I
if
saw a nice,
possible.
I saw a nice spot in Cheshire by the barn.
Dave, did you have a concern?
Yes, I'm not happy with in the woods.
You're not happy with the
No,
numbers?
where they would go in the school, no.
The- the-
Animals will get in, critters will get in, it's just that.
I disagree.
I disagree 100%. The animals
They're
are
gonna
not
get
getting
in
in. They're seal
regardless.
locked containers.
I don't-
They'll
you
sit
know,
there.
I don't-
That's why I thought.
Do they, have they gotten in over there, the country club?
Well,
Absolutely.
Mics and stuff?
they're not sitting in the woods though.
It doesn't make much.
And
of a
when you
difference.
put them in where we decide to put them in, you would put,
Gravel.
you'd have gravel, you'd have drainage, you would have everything. They would be sitting down, you know.
Better than
I
they
think
are
the
right now.
area would have to be prepared to accept them.
Put 'em there.
Would
And
you
just
have to,
drop in there.
would you have to, I'm wondering, would you have to cut brush around it, and then they'd be more exposed, but it might.
No, if you put them in, the left side is a hill that goes up 200 feet to the parking lot. You would park up top. The only way you would see them is to park your car, get out, walk in front of your car, walk over to the edge and look down. It's 99% of people do not do that.
Who
They
would
just
be
park.
in charge of getting the property ready to do it?
The what?
The who would be in charge of getting it ready?
like
Spot
to-
ready for,
Spot ready, that would be the town. That would be Adam, a Parks Department.
So the
Parks Department would
gravel
come
and
in.
the-
So it wouldn't be like throwing them in the woods. That whole area would be cleared out where they are like this, you know, and the rest and everything. So there'd be nothing in between them because they'll be put like a foot apart from each other like they are now at the country club. And then you,
just drop them right down inside the gravel
Yeah.
and you're all set.
then you're all set, you're ready to go.
Even if you don't have drainage, the water's gonna drain right through the gravel, right down to everything, it's not gonna disturb
Yeah.
anything.
If you put them in like Dave said right now, just drop them in on there like that, yeah, you'd have a problem.
They're gonna sink
They're
in.
gonna sink in, they're gonna be in there like this, so they have to come in and put a, foot of gravel in, they have to level it out. It's pretty level right now, so they just have to clear and prepare it properly for those.
So it might be a bit more visible, cause if you're clearing the area, but still it would be tucked in,
It won't be in the way of anything.
yeah,
Yeah, nothing, it would be bothering
you would still
nothing.
see the front and the sides, perhaps.
Well, you see the front of all three, but you only see the side of the last one.
Yeah,
Where's the stuff that's, the equipment that's stored in them, where is it used primarily?
Used for everything for summer camp.
Beecher, but I'm saying.
Beecher Road
Beecher.
School, everything is used for right there, everything is used, 90% of the
Just
stuff.
just looking for justification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was this a lot of the stuff that was stored in the at the country club?
Yes, we had it all in that one room. So you knock down the building, leave that one little room there, and we could, it would look nice though.
alright, alright. To be, there's no vote on that, right? That was a,
It's done.
that was,
job for Mika.
I had to think about where are we with this? Okay, personnel. So there's something in here, Sarah Bernier, perhaps I'm pronouncing her name correctly, for a swim instructor.
Yeah.
And, is she, okay.
She went through all the background checks,
Yeah.
all that kind
They
of stuff.
successfully passed their background checks and the National Sex Offenders List.
Okay, okay, so she'll go through the bullying procedures and
Yeah.
board it on and be ready to roll.
And then Teresa will have her sign off that she received it and went over with her.
Excellent, okay.
And again, this is replacing this was an open position, you're not expanding the
No.
staff, it's replacing someone.
Correct.
Right.
Okay,
The only time we expand is if, we wanna keep our ratio like 1 to 4, and we have two people working, and we get 12 people sign up. Then we'd expand it to a third person, so we'll still keep our ratio 1 to 4 instead of going, 1 to 6. For safety reasons, that's the only time we would expand.
Okay. Motion to, accept this personnel recommendation? Well,
Second.
discussion? All in favor? Aye. Everyone ayed? Okay, excellent. Director's report. Some of it you reported on, but please, John, go ahead.
Okay, the fitness center is still running very well over here, running the programs like that. We do have, if you look in here, one of the things is, when I was asked, when we had the special committee meeting, how many people use like this, we have 55 people using it, 50 of them are seniors that are using the program in there like this, and so they're at a limited rate. We don't charge our seniors as much as we do, other people. So that was the discussion there. And as I said, Rob Kenyon, who's the director of the program, assistant director over there with John Vecchio, really keeps the place nice. He's really the nuts and bolts of the place, like I say, because he'll fix something instead of us having to buy it. He really saves the town a lot of money because he knows, he's a mechanic, he knows his stuff. He knows what to do and how to do it. And if it has to be replaced, he asks me and we replace it. And we don't throw anything out. We save the parts that are savable that we could reuse again. Outdoor facilities. We have the Leggy property over there. It's a beautiful spot over there like this. The fields are in pristine condition. The playground is excellent. The netting's up. Everything's going really good. We blocked off for the soccer programs to protect us the road across the street, Shady Lane, all the way down. Signs are put up. The police, the chief Capiello, they provided us with all the signs. Jimmy laminated them, and we put them up there for no parking, everything like that. It was beautiful. And we were also told the programs that if they have a large venue, that they have to have a police officer there, which they did in their last one. They had a police officer there, making sure that nobody parked in that area and nobody parked on the road where the cemetery is like that. I don't know if they'll get upset at the cemetery, but anyways.
Everson cooperated, he got the
Yeah.
2 officers or whatever that needed, so.
Yeah.
So there's no parking on Pease and on Shady Lane, both?
Right. You can't park on the road there like this, but we plowed the area up there. We're getting ready to put the skating rink up there. We went through this whole thing, and then the bids came back at $180,000. I have a $20,000 budget. First bid came back at $180,000. I went to my friends like this. He came back at $140,000, $40,000 less. That's still $120,000 over our budget like this. It was just infeasible to put something there, but we mowed it down. It's all mowed down, everything. The parking lots. It was going to be a skating rink and parking lot, and now it's just a parking lot. You could park another 40 cars on that because it's all put down right to the bottom. It's
Oh,
all kept.
excellent.
So it turned out very
So
well.
parking hasn't been an issue.
No.
John, at what point do you put up the signs where the soccer field cannot be used over the winter? When do you put those?
Adam puts them up and we fence it off. He completely fences it off, and then we put fields closed.
And is that in like December or?
Yeah, end of November, beginning of December. They'll block it all off like that, and then they'll put the chain up on it so that you can't go in and out at night. But in the daytime, you can go in and use the playground area.
Right, but not the soccer field.
That's all, but not the soccer fields. Tennis courts. The tennis courts at Beach and North are completed. They look fabulous. They're doing great. Tennis courts at Center Field, down here off of Center Road right here, are all 4 are still being used. They're lifting up. We'll leave them up. We don't have a policy to take down the nets until the weather gets really bad. Once the weather starts getting too cold, we'll take them down. But if you noticed this last week, I mean, you could play over
Yeah,
there
it's
like
been
that. It was beautiful. Programs and sports. Dave's in charge of Dave's our supervisor, senior supervisor for the week. He's in charge of our weekday programs, running the programs like this, making sure they're run, making sure they're there. And what Dave does, which I like the best, is he is 100% on top of every child, where they are, when they are, and how to do it. He'll be on that phone from the time school gets out, because kids get confused. I don't have it today, I have it today. They come down, they go down the bus, and he knows and checks and calls the parents, and we find out where every child is at every time, every day. He doesn't miss a day, because if we lose one child, that's the worst thing in the world. Or just not knowing where that child is for a half hour, an hour,
Yeah.
like that. So kudos to him for the job he does in that. And the sports programs, John DeMeo is actually the one on the floor doing the sports programs, and he does a great job keeping the programs going. And the next one is our financial report. If you go to the financial report, it's in your packet. You look at the first page. On the first page of the current expenses, we are at, right now, expenditures. We are at 35.9% of our program. We closed down on that, and it looks like our programs are right on tack with everything. The budget. And then, last year at this time, we were at 38.6. You have to remember, we front load our numbers because the summer is when our biggest time is with recreation, with the summer camp and everything like that. So we're way over the thing, and then slowly as we come back during the year, it dissipates out and we even out all the time. But this year, we're 3% less than we were in working last year, because in cutting the budget and having the town, we came in with a zero budget. I was a little upset with coming in with a zero budget, doing what the town asked to do, and then all of a sudden come in and say, cut another 2,000. I feel that if you're a department that comes in with a zero-based budget from the year before, you shouldn't be touched. You should be left alone. You came in with a budget like this, and I know the town has problems, but when you nickel and dime little programs like us, we're tiny. You want to hit a big program that they could save $100,000, that makes a difference. But
Was
2,000
that a particular
purchase.
program they were asking you to cut, or?
They were cutting, no, they
Just
don't
an
tell you
extra
that. They don't
$2,000.
tell you that, Mike. They don't look at you in the face and say, cut programs. They say to you, go cut it. So I have to look where to do. So instead of getting rid of a program like Early Bird Swim or the fitness center, cut back hours. Knock an hour off here, knock an hour here. So you still have the days, but instead of having 4.5 hours, you have 3.5 hours. And you keep the programs intact, but you cut back. And if it works, fine. But I just feel that if you come in, if you do due diligence, and you come in with a budget that's zero, you're helping the town. And this is like the third year in a row that we've come in and we haven't heard anybody like this. And if I do a big budget and I go up like 40%, oh yeah, 40%. Oh, that's a lot. You went up like this. Well, that's only $40,000, $50,000 total. Whereas if another department comes in with 40% budget, you're talking, $400,000, $500,000. So that's just a personal peeve that I have, and I think the town should take a look at and say, hey, these departments are really trying their best, and they're really trying to help us. And we never say no. The $2,000, we looked at it. We had this time we had to cut a little bit of the budgets. We didn't take any budgets out. We just cut back. And then I say to Dave sometimes, he'll say to me, like on Thursday, we have a big program for basketball, so we can't cut anybody there. But on Tuesday, if we have a smaller program and he has 6 or 7 kids working, he'll just tell somebody, he says, I don't need you on a Tuesday. He'll eliminate that person, and we save that way. So we're always constantly looking at, like Mika had said before, taking a look at your employees and what you're doing with them. We only hire what we need to keep our numbers in a safety mode. You don't want to have somebody come in and say somebody got hurt, or what's the ratio? 1 to 9. You have a 1 to 9 ratio, and that many kids running around. You want to keep it at a safe ratio. We look at that's the only thing. But otherwise, if it's 20 kids and you have 10 workers, it's 1 to 2. That's out of whack. You have to cut back a little bit, a couple players, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
And are you currently working on the next year's budget?
As soon as they come out and tell me what the rate is and everything like that, we haven't come out yet. We're just got finished working on the capital budget, which isn't over because now we have to. It has to be in by November 8th. So once they get all that in, they get that separated, and they bring us in. They look at the budgets, they check over what we're doing, and then they okay it. Then the next budget comes out. And as soon as that comes out, I'll let you guys know what we're doing like this, and as I do it, I'll put it, each week I do so much on it, on the budget. Instead of bringing it all at once to you, I'll bring it out in sections, so you know, so you can look at it.
And I believe the goal or the ask is obviously again for a 0 increase, if possible,
Wherever possible.
wherever
Yeah.
possible, so.
Yeah.
It's,
alright.
and for whatever it's worth, John, I can tell you that many other departments got cut additionally at the same time that yours, and it was much more significant than $2,000.
And I said, I understand that, but I
So-
just feel that if those departments were like us and came in at a 0, you know, and you're not going up in the budget's staying at 0, I think it's, that you take a peek at that. But I understand if you,
And I can tell you, in terms of conversations on the board, that the Board of the Recreation Commission is definitely recognized for the way you do your budget, along with Public Works, and the library, who also approach it in the same way you do in terms of either cutting it
Yeah.
or keeping it down. So
Well,
certainly appreciate your efforts.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was unfortunate
I
that
know,
we needed
I
to do it, and going into this year.
well, we've had some great leadership between Dwight Rowland and Bob Hill and everything like this, and the leadership and Andrea, you know, and Cynthia jumping on board like this, and now you got, you know, Billy and Mary. Well, it's a good commission, because they actually look at things and they actually ask questions, because questions need answers. And that's a good thing.
And the other thing where you get hurt, just to mention, minimum wage going up. You know,
Oh,
all our
yeah.
after-school helpers are minimum wage.
Right.
And, you know, each year now for the next 5 years, we're really gonna get
Yeah.
hurt with
That's,
this increase.
yeah, that's the only reason why we can't go up in a lot of different things, because we have to absorb that, and that's gonna be the biggest thing.
It's the biggest challenge from a town
Yeah.
perspective, is the salaries and things of that, and, you know, the increases, that's.
Yeah.
So, the salaries represent in excess of $1 million a year to the town. So, in order to put together a 0 budget,
Yeah.
you have to find a way to save $1 million a year.
Here and there, I understand.
But your part-time people, you don't pay benefits to either.
Correct, which is a very big,
Savings,
savings, correct.
and you
But
don't
your
pay.
budget's more than $100,000, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I know that, but your director doesn't get benefits either, he's retired, he's old. You're old. Okay,
Well, John, I mean, thank you.
You're
You
welcome.
look, you know, you look at the budget, you cut where you can cut and without hurting programs, and I appreciate your willingness to always really work with
thank you.
what we need to do. So.
So, real quick, current income? That seems like we're off a little bit.
Jim can help you with this one.
We are off, yeah, a little bit, and,
Is that in one particular area, or?
you know,
can
you look at it,
identify
all
that?
of them, all the areas are down a little bit, like you take the pool. Now is the first time in years that we haven't had the JCC or Orange closed, so we're losing like income in drop-ins. You know, we're not getting those people that are coming in who doing their private lessons in that case. With rentals, center rentals, they changed the policy on rentals that, it's gotta be a non-profit now. You can't, any of these groups that are profit, we can't rent to, so you lose some income in there. So it's here and there for different reasons.
Okay.
For a long period of time, the JCC was closed for a period of time, Orange was closed for
Right.
months on end, so we had,
The YMCA, or, oh no, they're
Orange
they're
Town
separate.
Pool.
Community.
Town
so they
pool.
were
Okay.
closed, so their lessons, a lot of their kids came to us from Orange, so the income from there, but now the Orange has been reopened,
Mm-hmm,
so.
Yeah.
okay. Well, something to keep in mind.
Financial town plan. Dog park. Dog park, what do we know about dog park? They're continuing to
They're
raise
just
funds.
raising money to finish, I guess now they
think
need
they-
money to,
Take
remove
Rockville.
the old skating rink,
Yeah, I think
that's the big thing.
that's an unfortunate thing for them.
Last report I heard that they had raised
So
money
they're
under
putting
the,
it where the walking trail is.
so, that they had raised the monies that they needed to do it, and they're looking to start work with the intent of having it open for the spring.
Did they raise all the funds
Yes.
they need to at this
Yes.
point?
Yes, cause I was asking him that if we couldn't get a skating rink put in by this, if I have a 100 by 100 tarp I was gonna put down and fill it up like this, but they are gonna start.
Yeah.
And they said they were gonna do it. I met with, she lives on Beecher Road, I forgot her first name. Well, anyways,
Bonnie Blake?
Bonnie Blake.
Yeah.
Bonnie Blake and I sat down at her house like this, and we talked, went over everything like that, and then she said that they'd probably have their funds and we go in. I said, okay, and we eliminated that space for doing anything, so they could take it over and take it out.
Did we, actually, maybe we,
Skip town plan?
the town plan.
I have nothing on the town plan. I haven't received anything. Nothing.
The skating rink. So you
Okay.
have a single sheet here.
Yeah, I gave you a single sheet. We have the budget, the money's already there, the money's sitting there, we're ready to go, ready to do it. I did all the research and everything, and I found that, while I was researching, I found a company called Easy Ice. Orange had it like this, but Orange had a problem with their Easy Ice, that they had it out in the open, it wasn't protected. So at night they had vandals, they come, they knock the boards down, they break it, they knock the water out, and they come the next morning and there would be no water or anything like this, and they have to do it. So, for some reason, something just hit me right between the eyes. I was talking with Adam, and I said, I went to the company, and they said, oh yeah, we put these on tennis courts all the time. You can put these on tennis courts, they're flat, they're safe, the water spreads out, it levels itself out like this, and there's no heavy pressure in one spot or another, it's just all leveled out. So Adam and I went down to Center. We're taking the court, that's the first court right next to the parking lot. We have our parking all set, we have parking like this and everything there. And we go into the first court, we're taking out the pole. He's gonna take the pole out, and then they're gonna have it refitted so that it could just be put back in the spring. We're taking out the center pole in the middle, and we're gonna build a skating rink on top of that, 110 feet by 55 feet, which is bigger than what we had over here. We put it on there, this is the cost. The cost of the Easy Ice rink, 110 by 55 is almost $7,000. I figured shipping $1,000 because of the weight and everything, so $7,800. Sunoco Premier Security, this is fencing to protect the tennis courts. Now what happens is, we put a skating rink in. We go all the way to the far wall, and all the way against the wall, that's where the parking lot is, the fencing. Now we have a spot in the beginning, which rubber coating is gonna be put down 30 feet, where you put your benches and they sit. And then you have another 30 feet, and then 120 feet open space. Anybody can step over with their skates, walk on it and get a hockey puck or whatever they do like this, and walk on it with their skates, which ruins the ice. We're gonna buy temporary fencing that we can use anywhere. The town can use it during the year, but we just need it, during the skating rink. And we put it right up against the, at 30 feet on the end. 30 feet is rubbering where people sit, and then fencing blocked off down, and 120 feet of fencing, which will be 8 feet high, 10-foot long sections. They snap together, and you can't get out of the rink, so the rink is totally enclosed. Okay, we do that. On the skating rink itself, when you're done, like on the baseball fields in the outfield, Dwight has them on all his fields, the safety fencing that goes on top. But they have a plastic one. They have a hard plastic one, which is smooth, so when you come over with your body and something, you can just go over it and slide right onto the ice like that from anywhere. The entire top will be covered, and that's about $700. And you can get that at BSN or Anthem Sports. They're 8-foot lengths. 8-foot lengths, there's 10 in a pack. It's about $800. Then the rubber matting, it'll be a 1/2-inch thick rubber matting. You don't wanna be cheesy on that. You wanna make sure it's thick enough so it doesn't get through. But when we end the fence, we're gonna have 110, and 120 is the length all the way to the fencing. So we're gonna have 110 there, and then 2 feet is where the legs come down from the supports, and then 8 feet is all the way in. We're gonna put side by side 2 4-footers, 30 feet long. It's all protected. As soon as you step through the doorway, you're on rubber. You're on that rubber matting. And then we have accessories. We're gonna buy, Adam told me to get 6 extra panels, 12 extra legs, because in case something breaks or something happens, you don't have to worry about it calling like this and trying them shipped. You have them already stored. And the total comes to $14,711 that I have. And this is about $5,200 left. But that's good because in case the lining rips or breaks or anything, you have enough money in the account to buy another lining if you had to. Equipment like shovels and things like that. I've been looking up Zambonis. They're a little expensive, even the small ones.
Shovels are a
And
little
most of the small ones that use the backyard ones, you need water. You need, they come with a hook up a hose and you do it like this, but we'll work on that, you know, like this, I always can bring the fire trucks down, Chris and the guys come down, they use the spray gun off the top of the truck, put a nice little layer on the top for us like that.
I was around before Zamboni, I'll show you how to make them. The old arena didn't always have Zambonis. They were shoveled and, they put the water down with a 55-gallon drum. It leaked onto rags dragged behind it, and it put down new ice.
There you go. You'll have this ready for us? Yeah, so that,
You
that's,
supply the rags first.
yeah.
So John, you're proposing to
Mhm.
do this on the tennis courts down here?
Right,
Okay.
and it'll be done after they close for the year for tennis, and they'll be taken down in April. And it all folds up into a square, and everything stacks up, and you just put it on a pallet, drive it over to, the trailer,
The
and
trailers.
slide it right in.
And is there any risk at all to it damaging the tennis courts?
Not from the, I investigated it, and if you go on their website, the first thing to do is show you tennis courts, that they have them on the tennis courts. And they have multiple ones, they have, they don't take the post down, they just have one down the center, and then they have one down the center over here, and this is for little kids, and this is for hockey, and things like that. But the main thing about this whole thing is, when I was talking to the gentleman, is safety, and that's where the problem runs into, but that court is boxed in by the tennis courts, you know.
So there's already a fence all the way around?
Yeah, all the way around it. And I worked out a thing with Adam. He will open the court up at 8 in the morning, and I'll close it at night,
Oh, yeah,
every
that
night.
was
So
what I said.
I'll lock it up and he'll open it up. And we'll only have one doorway. The other door will always be locked.
So what time will it close?
It'll close at dusk. So I'll come in as it gets dark, I'll close it up, it's done. And then, some nights we can use the firehouse as lighting, and it can go in the corner of the parking lot closest to Center Road, with the lights facing away from the houses. And so there's no off flooding of lighting, it all goes this way.
It would be awesome to have, if the fire department would come over and provide lights, some sort of like special activity nights for
Program.
families.
Oh, yeah, but, well, once we get it in, then we'll sit down and figure out what we're gonna do and find the dates and everything, and say, like, I used to have like
Talk about hot chocolate.
hot chocolate and things
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, or like, you know, disco ball night, or bring a loudspeaker out there, whatever.
Yeah.
to
Just have
get
to worry
people
about
there.
the neighborhood, just have to
Yeah,
worry
yeah,
about the
yeah.
neighbors, that's all we need to do. There's only 3 neighbors on the other side. But yeah, things like that we can do, that's exactly it.
But it closed at dusk, so you have to be.
Yeah, but we set up and say we're having chocolate, we're having cocoa night like this. And a lot of times the Boy Scouts do programs on the highway where they do for truckers. And they stop there and they have free donuts and hot chocolate. And we can have the fire department come down and set up a table and just do hot chocolate and, maybe the little round donuts, the little
Yeah.
munchkin dunchkins.
Pizza truck.
I can't eat that.
Oh, yeah.
Andrea, these are outdoor courts. Woodbridge
Yes.
gets more snow and ice than the thickness of that
Yeah,
rink.
the weight, yeah, I guess so.
So,
I guess you don't have to really.
Is there any maintenance what maintenance needs to be done?
We're gonna have a snow blower. There's no maintenance that has to be done on it, except for the top of the ice, like that. And we had no problem over here because, it would rain or something like this and it gets wet like that and and then it would freeze on it like that. So we really didn't have a problem. Here, I already talked with Adam, we're gonna get a portable snow blower because it has to be lifted up over the top. And they'll start in the middle. He says, and they'll blow it out to the sides like that and pull it out like that. And that's the way we do it.
Is it, I guess, looking from the weather report from last year, it's over 32 degrees a lot. But there's no estimate sort of how often it'd be, just depends on the weather, whether it'd be over.
Right, we usually average 3.5, 4 weeks of skating in a December, January, February into March, so 16 weeks, 25%, 30%. Well, then some years we got 12 weeks. Sometimes we had, coastal weather so cold, we had 2 weeks straight, like that. It's all, depends on,
So will you open or close it you'll only open it up if it's frozen?
Right, only open up this road, and this is, and we put a sign up on it, just like we did over here.
Yeah.
We'll put a sign out and say, soft ice, skating rink is closed,
Okay.
check back tomorrow. The problem over here was the same thing, it would be soft ice, and You know, some kids would go out there and they'd walk on it and they'd smash it, and when the ice freezes, it doesn't level itself out. You know, one piece will go over another piece, and that's where you have the problem.
I would love to find out, from whenever it opens, how many days till when it closes, and how many of those days you could actually open because of the weather.
So would you like me to bring in the last 5 years? The other thing, I keep all that statistics in my office, yes.
I'd love to.
Yes, because there's always somebody on the board who'll ask that question.
I'd love to see it though,
I'm prepared.
just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I'm prepared. I have it over there like that, and I have the days that we did it like this, and I have and everything's put in plastic so it doesn't get wet, so people can see. We put the dates up that we're open, then we list things, and we can put a board up right there in the parking lot, which is nice, and put our stuff right on it, and to say, this is till here, and this is what we're gonna have.
And you had kids coming out during the week?
Yeah.
Kids would come out?
Oh,
during the
yeah,
week,
yeah,
right?
because parents are at home with the little ones.
Okay.
With the little ones like that, and they go out there, and the parents would meet there, and they'd be out there on the ice like this. And I always got funny, they're on the ice, but they had the 3 little plastic pipe, and the kid's on there, and he's going around, and the parents are just in there laughing, because he's not going anywhere. He's on the ice, and the little things are spinning, and he's having a ball, but he's only going about 1.5 feet. Yeah, so there's a lot of different things that we can do.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And this is within the budget.
Totally within the budget. And I think the safety thing and the best thing about ours is that we can close it, lock it, and it's protected.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the
so you're not
biggest
gonna
thing.
get people.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't know how many times over here it'd be frozen, but I'd go out there and have to chip out the rocks.
Right.
You know, kids would be flinging them, seeing if they could,
And-
break it.
And overflow parking is down, like if you fill up
That's
all those spaces.
well,
At center,
But
center.
I'm gonna have them plow all the way to the back to the baseball field,
Uh-huh.
cause then there's parking there for the baseball field, for the back softball field. So if they plow that,
There's plenty of
there's
spots.
plenty of spaces, and then you can plow down the bottom, there's another 20 spaces,
Okay.
which is nice. And it doesn't impact any
Do you have
programs.
to have an outpost?
That's a good question.
I don't know.
Can you, there's one
There's
in
one there
center field,
now.
right?
I think there's one there now. Yeah, there's one there now.
Can you move it up to the tenant?
It's at the tennis
It's
court.
at the
No,
It's
tennis
right at the
it's,
tennis court.
there's one that's,
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
I'll just have Adam leave it there. We'll take over the payment.
The winter
Okay.
time.
It's a handicap bathroom, and it's right there. And, what I'll do is I'll see if he can move it up closer to the tennis. It's only about maybe past the tennis courts, 100 feet. So maybe if he moves it up closer, that way you don't have to go down, all the way down.
Good idea.
Yeah.
We need to vote on this, I imagine.
Yeah, just an okay from you guys like this.
With a motion to approve this portable skating rink and accessories.
Second.
Any more discussion?
Just because of where this new idea of how to do this and the location, you can do it this this winter.
Yes.
Right.
If it's okay tonight, I'll be on the phone tomorrow.
Okay.
And it takes like a couple weeks to get all these stuff like this. But when I leave here, I have to meet with Tony. Tony says if it's approved, come in, sit with him. We go over it, and then I meet with Adam. And Adam and I will get started on this. He just told me as soon as you get it approved, let me know. When the season ends, we'll get those pipes.
How long does it take to put up?
According to the book, if they put up one, I think in 60 minutes. This is a little bit bigger.
Oh.
This is gonna be a little bigger one. This might make a couple hours, and we're first time and putting it down and getting it all set, ready to go.
Wow.
And getting it going, getting the whole thing set up. That's what we wanna get first, and then the fire department comes in. We're gonna have to hose the water in. We can't do like we did over here and back up to it and dump.
Right.
We don't have a space, so we'll hose it in and fill it up.
That's very exciting.
So hopefully we'll have it this winter.
Do you need the commissioners to volunteer help, or would that just hinder the process?
I'm gonna go no with that one.
I would go with, let's let Adam be in charge. Adam and Timmy, they do a great job. They're a good department.
You don't wanna fill it with a bucket brigade.
Oh, I don't think
no,
so.
we can,
Hey, Johnny?
Yeah, that'd be a little, take a little time.
Any more discussion?
Movie night.
A movie night there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it.
Ice skating, watch a movie.
You have a motion.
I know, sorry.
Well, there could be more discussion.
No, it's okay.
We should, if we do, special nights, we could just let those few neighbors know ahead of time, right, that there's gonna be an event, and I don't know how we do that.
Oh, yeah.
both.
I'm thinking ice sculpture festival
Ice
during the
sculpture.
Indiana weekend. You know, it's got the
Snowman.
park there.
First, let's
Got
play
ice
for cold
skating.
weather, right?
Snowman,
Let's get-
You guys
snowman
haven't heard
building.
about climate change, huh?
Yeah,
I know, that is a bit of a concern.
Yeah, I'd love to see that information about last year too.
Yeah,
The dates, I'd love
Yeah.
that.
well, we were closed the last couple of years over here.
Right.
Right.
second with this, but, I'll try to find all the stuff I have for, how many times we did it and everything like that.
How, this one was closed the past few years.
The blacktop had cracks and the water
Crack, it
was
wouldn't hold
deep.
the water.
Okay.
It wouldn't hold the water at all. We tried to fill the cracks and, it still leaked out.
And you have a community of people you know who to reach out to, and we'll promote this and
Yeah.
make sure that it's
Yes.
being used. When, if it's
Oh,
frozen,
yeah.
This should be
if
in the
it's
newsletter.
frozen, yeah,
This
that's,
Right. Well, we have running
Yeah.
club on Wednesday, and we have 80 kids in running club. And, I'm gonna get a flyer out to them that we're gonna
Okay.
have, that we should be having, like, I gave them a flyer the other day about winter, running club. Now we'll give them some about, we're gonna open it up and send, we can send this out through the Beach Road.
And the
Whatever.
community, the town newsletter, this should
Yeah,
definitely
the
be.
town
in
newsletter and
And
everything.
this
Whatever.
one's visible.
Yeah, and this one's
Yeah.
visible.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
right out in the open.
Right.
It's centrally located. I think everybody's gonna like it. It's a win-win for all of us. Because we got the parking, what we needed over there,
Yeah.
and we got the skating rink, which I think will be perfect right here.
I know Chester's involved with youth hockey, and, you know, kind of getting the word out to those programs there might
Okay.
certainly
I guess,
increase use.
That'd be
You
great.
build it, they'll come.
Yeah.
We've never had a problem with that.
And in fact, it was a student from Amity who came as part of a community project, right, some years ago to get it reopened. 'Cause
Yeah.
it used to be open, and then it was Marissa Young who spoke
Yes.
to our
Absolutely.
commission.
Got
yeah,
good memory.
So, yeah, I remember that. Good.
you could conceivably use the other tennis court for like, I don't know,
Nothing.
you wouldn't use it at all.
I wouldn't open it at all, because then you're on the other side of the safety fencing, and anything can happen over there, you know what I'm saying?
You don't want
So we close
skates
it
on
off,
that.
that's there, but there's two courts up top if they wanted to do
Right,
something
right.
that they could have.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, great,
Two
it's
hands.
exciting.
All right, here we go. What
Yeah.
movie would you wanna watch? The-
Jaws.
Jaws.
No, like
Miracle on
Frozen.
Ice.
Frozen.
Frozen. Maybe our December
Slapshot.
commission meeting will
Yeah.
bring our skates.
See what we could do.
That's,
Um,
that would be the one.
okay, any correspondence?
I don't think so,
I
right?
don't think there was, right? Any other business? I don't think we've covered it all. Yes, we
If
can.
I could just make two items that I neglected to mention earlier. Betsy advised us at the selectmen meeting that we do now have a trail master. I don't know who it is, I don't know the name, but there is a trail master, which I think is a tremendous thing. And John mentioned Eagle Scout project, and there was an Eagle Scout who presented a project, this past meeting at the selectmen's office or selectmen's meeting for a butterfly or pollinating
Huh.
insect type more structures
Oh, structure.
that attract pollinating insects at different farm areas and different areas as well.
Yeah, if you look out at the library, that little island in the middle,
Mhm.
oh my God, if you come in the summertime and see the different butterflies, you can
Oh,
just
yeah.
sit there for hours and just watch the different ones come in from everywhere. And I don't even know where they come from.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, that's
That's
great.
so I just wanted to mention
Yeah,
that as well.
that's great. One other thing, I don't know if there's been any work done, I know the gazebo, there was a little bit of rot, I know
I
you
brought
brought
that
that
up.
to
Mhm.
the attention.
I don't know, I would probably check with Adam. I'll call Adam directly and see
Yeah.
if what's going on with that.
That'd be good, cause there are just certain places that we wanna catch that before it gets worse. Any other business? Our next meeting is
November 18th.
November 18th. Okay, great.
And is it expected that, at that meeting, the presentation that was postponed will,
No, December seventh.
Betsy was gonna get back to me, you know, she said in
Okay.
the email that might be a possibility that they'll come to that meeting, but, you know, there was nothing definite at the time, and she had just said that Brian was ill and couldn't
Right.
attend tonight, but you're right, maybe the next meeting.
okay,
I would-
because on the schedule that they set the meetings for, that would be too late for us to have any input. But now that those meetings are also
off.
postponed,
Right.
we might have
Yeah.
an opportunity. I would certainly welcome an opportunity to talk with them. I have several questions. I'm sure all of us have some
Yeah.
questions as it impacts rec in a number of different ways.
particularly on the pool, because there is some confusion there, but, we've not, so, but yes,
Yeah.
I'll leave it
Yeah.
at that. And if it's okay, for the next meeting, we'd like to get the, budget discussion on the agenda as well.
Okay, let's add that.
The
So-
operating budget?
The operating,
Well, the budget for the review of the ideas for the budget task force,
Okay.
budget task force review,
set up a
Jim, for
meeting,
subsequent to the meeting that we have with you folks.
Okay, terrific.
Did you
Anyone
say,
else?
Mika, that you were going to send us a list of what's short-term, long-term, middle-term, long-term?
Yeah, we have, yes, I'm gonna send you a list of the ideas that were discussed.
To Jim, and then Jim, you were gonna disseminate it to us? Is that
I'll
what-
send it to
Right,
Jim.
when I get
Yeah,
from him, yeah.
Yes, I'll send it to Jim and ask
Okay.
him to send it to everyone, so you have that. And it'll also include some information in terms of the process that we've gone through and some other information as well.
Okay,
But it's in a spreadsheet format, so or table format, for lack of a better way.
it's not like my handwritten
So-
junk.
The information that Bob had, is that available somewhere?
That's in the POCD for the Plan of Conservation Development.
That should be
That should on the
online.
line. That's,
Yeah, that
that's
should be
online,
online.
yeah, you can take a look at that. And, to his point, for whatever it's worth, I know there was some, I don't know that they viewed it completely, because it would've made things a lot easier, I think, if they had. But certainly, it plays into what Beth's vision has always been, a recreational facility
Right.
for the rest of the,
Yeah.
so now it's just, getting down to the details.
And I can see
But I
that
think that's a
as-
great resource to do that with.
As you mentioned, Mike, that's gonna affect our budget and everything if,
Yeah,
it's gonna be under our umbrella, which I
Right.
assume it will be,
Yeah.
in terms of budget and
Right, that would definitely.
everything.
okay.
Jim, are you with us for the next meeting?
No, John DeMille will probably take notes for
So
the next
all
meeting.
the best to you,
Yes,
you're having
thank you, Jim.
some procedure.
Thank you.
Mark all yours in permanent ink that you wanna keep.
And thank you for always. Thank you to all of you, and for being here this evening. And shall we make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn, I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
It is, what time is it? We adjourn at 8:39.
8:39.
Hey, Bill,
Yep.